I, Titik Shah, welcome you all to yet another UK chapter of the Right Circle event, which is being organized by Oxford Business College, Oxford, Kriti UK Birmingham, and Sampath Birmingham under the auspices of the British Council. I'm grateful to the Prabha Khaitan Foundation, an NGO based in Kolkata, who has initiated this project of the Right Circle in 2015 and have been felicitating this to over 35 cities in India and internationally, aimed at promoting acclaimed Indian authors writing in English. It is a social non government organization, and its activities are aimed in the arena of betterment of education, culture, art, and women empowerment. When the pandemic brought the world to a halt, the foundation turned to virtual sessions so as to not deprive the literary enthusiasts and enjoy the same from the sanctity of our homes. We are privileged today with this opportunity of having a legend with us who hails from Thrissur in Kerala, but moved to Bombay early on in his life. Well known personality of three genres: television, theater, and film. He juggles between, an actor, writer, and director effortlessly. While acting is something he enjoys, he has directed over 20 films, and he's made films inspired by real life incidents and figures. And many of his works, Me Sindhutai Sapkar, Rough Book, Dr. Rakhmabai, whose poster I see right behind where he's sitting, and My Ghat, Crime Number 103 oblique 2005, among others, have received critical acclaim on international film festivals. Now, his most recent true life Marathi film, Bittersweet, is headed to, of course, the Busan International Film Festival. It's, I believe, also in the race for the prestigious events JISOC Awards. He's acted in over 100 films in Hindi, English, Marathi, Tamil, and some of his films include, and I'm sure you all have seen it at some point of the other, Chandni, Bazigar, Joggers Park, Yes Boss, Staying Alive, and then Papanasanam and Vishwa Swarup 2, Evening Shadows, and many more. Uh, he was at the same time when it was my time of the 80s and 90s of television. And, he's worked in over 75 serials. And I remember him in The Sword of Tipu Sultan, Dekh Bhai Dekh. Janoon was extremely popular, Ghar Jamai and others. And then he's also written films like Aksar, Dil Mange More, Anamika, The Untold Story. Quite a veteran now. He has over 3,000 shows to his name, covering the spectrum from Shakespeare to Arthur Miller. But not one to rest on his laurels, his book, Once Upon a Prime Time, is a bomb of nostalgia and a treasure with details of the golden age of Indian television for those who grew up in the 80s and 90s like me. So, without any further ado, let's be in conversation and welcome one of the most progressive but not elusive, a thorough professional, multifaceted guest, Mr. Ananth Mahadev, joining us from Bombay today. And of course, I've said a very, very warm welcome from sub-zero temperatures of England.
Thank you so much, Titiksha. I mean, that was a very flattering introduction. And the most frightening word that you used in that entire speech of yours was the word legend. It's something that totally frightens me. It almost makes me feel I'm non-existent and I'm some mythical figure who has been sort of created for the minds of people. So please let me just be what I am. I'm
I
if you
stand corrected and I will say a living legend.
no, all right. Living is all right, but I'll substitute the word legend with student. So I am a student and I am a learner. I'm learning every day and discovering every day, and that is the most exciting part of my journey as I continue to, make an effort to better every film that I make with the next film. So that's where I stand. And in fact, I'm very, very grateful to Prabha Khaitan Foundation and the Circle for having me with you. A very, very good afternoon to everyone in the UK and good evening to all those who have joined in from India. And yes, sub-zero temperatures is something that I enjoy. And here we are in Bombay, warm and enclosed within the walls of our house with a little wind blowing outside that tells us what winter could be like. So there we are. And thank you, Titiksha, once again. And thank you, all of you who have joined in now. And I hope I make this session interesting and worth your while for you.
Thank you so much, Ananth. And the reason I say from Bombay is because I'm, not for the millennials and the gender, the up till then, they still know it as Bombay. I was born in Bombay, Matunga. And for the Generation Z, it is Mumbai. But when I'm speaking to you, I'm still sticking to Bombay. So let's begin that, you've not inherited acting in your genes, nor the surname of a Kapoor or a Khan. You hailed from a very strict disciplinarian set of parents, and you weren't really allowed to see films from an early age. You didn't go to a fancy acting school, and yet you established yourself so very firmly for the past 4 decades in the industry. What were your most impressionable strengths growing up, and where did you derive them from? I mean, how did you decide on this career path?
Well, you seem to have kept track of a lot of secrets of my life, especially the impressionable years. And all of them are true. Being brought up by a disciplinarian father who never let you see a film in your life. And, sometimes they say that if you keep something pent up, that is what eventually bursts open and leads you to what you want to do in life. Along with the sciences, I was very, very keen to tutor myself in the arts. And the arts always fascinated me, whether it was, Charles Dickens or Wordsworth or Keats, Shakespeare. I mean, we used to do a lot of reading at Don Bosco. And since you said you were from Matunga, you know what Don
Yes,
Bosco was all
absolutely.
about. So thanks to my teachers, we were, educated and we were brought up on these great writers of the West, and especially the English writers. And that really, really fascinated me. And we used to do a lot of plays in school, whether it was Shakespeare or Arthur Miller or any of the great English and American playwrights. And one play a year, and that would be about 14 plays before I graduated. So theater was something that I inculcated and imbibed during the growing up years. And it kept telling me that please take me along with you. I want to explore you as a person, and you explore me as a medium. And there was this little bug inside my head trying to tell me that don't let this go. Even if you are in the sciences, don't let the arts just leave you that way. And even before I knew it, and it's very difficult to decipher how it happened, but I just applied for a job as a copywriter in an advertising agency that incidentally used to do the advertising of films. And when we started that, I came in contact with a lot of film personalities and theater personalities, and that gave the impetus to something that was bottled up within me all my life. And when I used to tell people that I wanted to be an actor professionally, of course, with my kind of mug, no one wanted to believe me, because everyone believed in the Greek god kind of looks in India. And the entire perception of a leading man or an actor in India is just good looks and good looks and good looks, and nothing beyond that. So it was tough, and it is still tough to convince people that, look, I am not of, I'm a different breed altogether. I'd like to think, I'd like to be aware, I'd like to use my education in furthering the arts. So it was tough, and but slowly and steadily, um, television, theater started, and I started doing theater, and I took up theater very seriously. And live performances on a professional stage, particularly at venues like the Prithvi Theatre in Juhu, which Prithviraj Kapoor started, and the NCP, the National Center for the Performing Arts at Nariman Point, gotten audiences that actually spurred you on. Their reactions spurred you on, their emotions, their laughter, their silences, everything that the feedback in the
It was
air.
instant. It was instant. You could see
Absolutely.
it
I mean,
there and then.
nothing to beat the magic of a live performance. And I knew that my place was on stage in the theater, and I would continue doing that. And till date, it's been more than 40 years since 1980. I still continue to do theater, and we are performing. So that's the most wonderful exercise that an actor could have had. And then my very first film, it was, I would say, a baptism by fire, because I was cast in three scenes in a film, in an English film being directed by someone from England. And it was an adaptation of Rudyard Kipling's novel Kim. And guess who I had these scenes with? No less than the great Sir Peter O'Toole. You know,
Oh, wow.
so
And what year was this in?
this was in 1982, 81, 82. And just sitting with him, he was playing the Lama, and just sitting with him on the banks of the river in Jodhpur, gave me a very eerie kind of feeling and gave me goosebumps. Because I told him, I admitted, it was a confession. I told him, look, I wouldn't even dream of acting with you. I mean, I wouldn't dare to dream of sharing screen space with you. And here I am sitting with you and performing three scenes. It's all so unreal. But what an auspicious start to what I wanted to be an acting career. And it was with Sir Peter O'Toole. So I went on to doing television after that, because sponsored television came in a very big way into India. And also it was just one channel, the government channel, Doordarshan, where they had started off with primetime shows, 9 o'clock every day from Monday to Sunday, especially Sundays in the mornings. We had a whole session of at least 8 to 10 new shows, serials. And I was part of the beginning, where Sai Paranjpe cast me in a very interesting part as Chintamani in Ados Pados. And that, made my face a familiar face. I got onto the bandwagon of popularity. And it actually, that first week, created what they call the television stars. And because they were all from theater, they were all fresh faces, they had a certain kind of spontaneity, and they were not easily impressionable, and they did not have the mannerisms and the kind of the way the attitudes that film stars had. So it was very interesting to explore that medium. And it was filmmakers like Sai Paranjpe, Rishikesh Mukherjee, Bashu Chatterjee, Yash Chopra, Ramesh Sippy, all of them, Kundan Shah, Aziz Mirza, Saeed Mirza, they all came down to doing television and exploring the medium of the close-up.
And they're actually filmmakers,
They
and
were all
yet
filmmakers.
they were doing television as well. Why do you think that has changed now? Or are they
Well,
doing?
well, I'm coming to that, because that's what my book, Once Upon a Prime
That,
Time, is all about. It's actually three books in one. It's called Episode One, The Beginning, which was the beginning I'm talking about right now, where filmmakers did not shy from trying a new medium, television, although they knew that it was very, in a very, not in a very complimentary way, called the small screen or the idiot box. But they
mm,
still brought in, they realized that they could attempt everything that they were not allowed to do on the big screen in India, because the formula and the potboiler system that dominated the big screen in order to make films mainstream there was no such restriction on television, just like there is no restriction on stage in the theater.
Yes.
So they decided to do short stories. I mean, every genre came into being, whether it was classics or short stories or detective stories,
Well,
or
it was
even,
also the time of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata.
yes, the mythologicals, the mythos were
Mythological.
also, yeah, looked into, and that started off a spate of mythologicals because, like they say, we got about 3 crore gods in India, so it could go on for generations. If you're going to look into the lives of every god that we know or do not know. So when Ramayana and Mahabharata started off the trend of mythologicals, and of course we had historicals like the Sword of Tipu Sultan and Chanakya, and we also had classics like Mirza Ghalib. So it was such a wonderful, varied mix, and everyone could, take their pick. Although everyone wanted to watch everything that was being shown, because this was, entertainment coming right into your home, and the first direct-to-home entertainment in India. But what happened over the last 2 decades was, after the 80s and the 90s. The 90s was episode 2, when the other channels came into being, and the satellite channels, as they were called, when Z or Star Plus or Sony, and
All the private players came into being.
that's right. They came into being, and one big advantage with these players was that they got transponders and satellites from Malaysia and Singapore. They leased them out, and the quality of transmission was far, far, far superior to Doordarshan, which had very, very weak transponders. So that's where the satellite channels scored. And they still kept the whole, I would say, the formula of what Doordarshan started going. They still had their short stories and soaps and other classics, detective stories going. Even horror stories, even the late night horror show started on Z. But what happened in at the turn of the millennium, in 2000, was there was, I would say, the bane of Indian television, the daily soap. What we used to do as the weekly became the daily, and then the pressure on companies, on software companies, to deliver 5 episodes a week rather than 5 episodes over a month.
Okay, so
So
I always wondered, that you just said the daily soap. So in my time, it was called serial. So I wondered always where this jargon came from. How did that watching a serial become like a soap? It's started being called.
well, the soap, actually, my interpretation of this would be, most of the companies that sponsored television in America, especially the detergent companies, the consumer companies, the products, they were all manufacturing soaps and detergents and hand washes and disinfectants and whatnot. And when they started sponsoring certain programs, I think the word stuck, soap, because it was, as slippery as soap, as extendable as soap, and it could go on and on and on. And the bubbles that come from detergents, could burst and give you different patterns. So it's strange, but the word soap being attached to serials or television shows, as I would prefer to call them, is probably from the great consumer movement that backed the sponsors, who, especially in India, Godrej was a huge sponsor of a
Right.
lot of television shows, and Godrej soaps were right on top of the consumer shelf. So I think it's just a slang, like we have this terrible, terrible slang for Indian cinema or Hindi cinema. It's called Bollywood.
Hollywood.
Yeah. So it's as bad as Bollywood and soap. Let's keep that aside. So, sorry. So what I was coming to was, when you get into the daily routine of producing an episode a day of a daily series, the writing goes for a toss. If there is a scene on a staircase that would take normally 2 minutes in a weekly, the staircase scene would take 15 minutes in a daily, because they keep stretching it, because they do not have material to last for 200 episodes. So The good old formula of 13 episodes or 26 or 52 or 104 to a max was destroyed and devastated beyond belief. And what we had was something that we couldn't really feast our eyes on nor our senses. And at least the likes of you and me started switching off. But what happened was there was no option. Soaps flooded television and all the 200 channels, the Indian channels, and each one started replicating the other. And
But to date, this not changed. Even to date, 21st century as well.
yes, I'm coming to that. But what has happened is there is a small change that is happening now. Over the past 2 decades, people have become terribly critical of these daily programs and daily shows, and they have realized that each one replicates the other. In fact, if you just remove the logo of the channel on your screen, and then if you watch, you keep switching and watching the channels, each one looks the same. They're all the great grandiose staircase sets. They're all the over dressed bahus and brides and daughter-in-laws and mother-in-laws, and the very gory sets, very garish, I would say. So they all look the same, and the weddings happen, and the characters are the same, and none of them differ from each other. So finally, it got to you, and people started dropping off. The so-called television rating points, which we once boasted of in the region of 70 to 100 at the time of the sword of Tipu Sultan, has come down to 2 and zero point 0.5 and zero point 0.6 and 1 and 2. So today, if you get opening TRP of 2, it's supposed to be a very successful show. But then Doordarshan was the only channel in those days, and today we have 200 channels, so the choice is wide. So what has happened is the people who took advantage of this terrible situation were the digital platforms like Netflix and Amazon and Hotstar and Sony Live and many others, and even Apple TV that's coming into India now. And they started producing what you call the web series. Now, the web series, if you look at them closely, they are nothing but a repeat of the formula of Doordarshan when we had an entire season in 13 episodes, an entire season in 26 episodes. So the web series are nothing but 8 episodes and 10 episodes of season one, and then you go into season two. So what you are doing is, in a very surrogate fashion, you are going back to the formula that Doordarshan started, which is a pity because Doordarshan could have really, encashed in on what they had started, and they could have kept it going. But they let the advantage go. It slipped from their hands. And
But do you think, Anand, this is because the generation Z and the millennials don't have the patience of sitting out through these daily soaps and dramas of, the Star Pluses and Sonys, etc. Everything they want is like instant. They want to see the end result, and yet you've got, season one now. So in a way, if you see, it's season one, season two, season three, season four. So in a way, it's, you're saying that it is like, back of a repeat of Doordarshan, but actually not with them, producing so many seasons.
Doordarshan did produce, they didn't call it seasons. When Katha Sagar came in, it was about short stories. There was Katha Sagar 1, then there was Katha Sagar 2. When
Okay.
Gharjamai was produced, I acted as Gharjamai with Satish Shah and Farida Jalal. And many years later, I directed the second, I mean, we didn't call it the second season, the resurrection of Gharjamai with Satish Shah and R. Madhavan and Mandira Bedi and the others. So we did have our seasons also, although we didn't see through that entire, the advantage of, exploiting something that could have gone to seasons, and we could have really, sort of encashed on that format. But that is because, again, before we could even invent something, or before we could even innovate, the daily programs came into being, and then there was this entire glut of daily programs where you weren't even allowed to do short stories, you weren't allowed to do comedies the way you were doing comedies, and everything went for a toss, and the entire the television formula was turned on its head. So like you rightly said, a lot of the people from the new millennium, they found this boring. They found this undigestible and totally detestable. The soaps started getting popular in the Mufussil areas, in the smaller areas, the smaller towns in India, and that's where the television rating points came in from, not from Bombay, not from Delhi, not from the metros. So, taking advantage of this, the digital platforms have now, made an attempt to override television. And today, if you ask a lot of people, the kind of popularity that these daily shows enjoyed, say, 10 years back, is not the same anymore. People are hooked on to web series on the digital platforms. And even if they're web series from Mexico or Spain or
Yes, very that.
Israel, or America or UK or India, now they're hooked on to that. And the youth today did during the pandemic make a very stunning and startling discovery when Doordarshan started repeating the shows that were once popular, like Ramayan, Mahabharat, Udan, Byomkesh Bakshi, and so many of them, Discovery of India. uh, the youth, you wouldn't believe me, they were hooked on to these shows. And that's when they realized what the beginning of television in India was all about, what the history of television was all about. And I could see it. The sales of the book shot up. They wanted to know the story of the stories that were being told on Indian television. And we were, in fact, very lucky to have released the book during the pandemic. So people sitting at home got the book, read it, they watched the shows all over again, and it was like the coming back of
Yeah.
Indian television, and that's where the youth got fascinated. So it only goes to show how wrong the programmers of today sitting on those seats and those channels were, because they kept saying that this is not what the youth wanted. A short story is not what they want. A classic is not what they want. A history is not what they want. But that's exactly what they got hooked on to, during the pandemic, and they said, "Oh my God, this is what we missed." So we still have, this is probably a sign and a signal that we need to pull up our socks. It's still not too late. We could still resurrect television, the golden age of Indian television, and come back to shows that were popular, and even probably get back some of the veterans like Ramesh Sippy, Sai Paranjpe, Aziz Mirza. Unfortunately, we do not have Kundan Shah and Bashu Chatterjee and Rishikesh Mukherjee with us, but we do still have a lot of them with us. So probably, they could be consultants on this, and we could revamp Indian television all over again.
I'm sure the pandemic has also had, given a lot of time to a lot of these people. And, I'm sure with the book out as well. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we could not receive the book here. But I'm sure as soon as things open up with India, our viewers today here in the UK will be able to get a copy of your book, and they will be distributed here. So all the best with your book and its selling and bringing back the old television and the quality of the series back. But I want to quickly get on because you have such a huge repertoire. I don't know. I need 2 hours. We need to cancel this program and do like a series one, series two, and a series three with you for each genre. But coming to cinema, tell us what kind of cinema that you've been indulging in or has given you the pleasure of making, that is a long way away from your 2002 Dil Vil Pyar Vyar and Aksar, though I love Aksar and I love the songs. But still, I mean, having read about the kind of films that you make now, uh, what is it that made you come away from that typical Bollywood terminology and make meaningful films, real life films?
Yeah, that's a question that I'd like to answer, because my life in the film industry is made up of two chapters. The first chapter was actually trying to get into the industry itself,
Yeah.
as a director, because I've been an actor, and to prove that you are a director is quite tough, because you need a hit against your name. So, like they say, the brook has to pass through marshy land to open up into the clear blue sea. So, it was necessary for me to approach a lot of mainstream film producers and even not really indulge in the kind of formula they do. I did bring a lot of sensibility into films like Dil Vil Pyar Vyar, which was India's first retro musical. I mean, I'm very proud of that film because no one has ever attempted a retro musical here, and we used R.D. Burman's published work to recreate all his songs with his own chief assistant and composer, and made sure that we stuck to the originality of R.D. Burman, and it did not sound like what they call these days. There are a lot of recreations that are not they do not do justice to the originals. So after Dil Vil Pyar Vyar, I did a very irreverent comedy called Dil Mange More with Shahid Kapoor, and we introduced Soha Ali Khan in the film. And it was all about never ending up with your first love. You always get married to someone else. So it was a very irreverent comedy. And then Aksar, like you mentioned, was a thriller, a suspense thriller, but a very, very offbeat suspense thriller. We did shoot in London for Aksar. There was, I mean, if you watch it, 80% of the film is set in London, and we try to exploit some of the beautiful locations in London. We set the story in London. So, but then I realized that all the education that I was giving myself, I was self-taught in the arts, and I was teaching myself the movies too. I am a product of the Film Society movement. So every Wednesday and every Sunday, we used to watch some of the great masterworks from whether it was a Godard or Fellini or Truffaut, or whether it was Polish cinema, Czechoslovakian cinema, Russian cinema, whether it was Tarkovsky or whether it was Kurosawa from Japan, or Satyajit Ray and Mrinal Sen, Ritwik Ghatak, Adur Gopal Krishnan, Girish Kasarwali, Shyam Benegil, the likes. All these great masters. And those films taught me one thing, that Indian cinema is light years behind the world in as far as the grammar and the language of cinema is concerned. And that was a cause for concern because it made me very nervous. It made me feel that everything was being given to you on a platter. And even if, like the great Rishikesh Mukherjee said, he told me, Ananth, in India, to be outstanding, you only have to be average. And that was the most frightening truth. And I wanted to get out of this trap. I did not want to get into this trap of making cinema that did not matter. I wanted to make cinema of substance. So the second chapter of my life started. And since I had made three or four so-called mainstream films that were very popular musically and because of the cast, producers started sort of trusting me with new themes and more innovative stuff, content. And that's how I started doing films like Staying Alive, Red Alert, Me Sindhutai Sabkal, Gaur Hari Dastan, The Freedom File, Dr. Rakmabai, and recently Mai Ghat and Bittersweet. And all of them succeeded in getting me to a world platform, a universal platform, an international platform where either they were screened at very important international film festivals or they fetched me a lot of critical acclaim and also national awards like Sindhutai Sabkal got. And I think the best part was just a few months ago in October when the Busan International Film Festival selected Bittersweet for premiering in its competition section in the Asian cinema. So, finally I
And
made it.
this is the film, Anand, that you are very keen that you want to take this film to the highest level of global viewing. I very much want you to, tell our viewers today, in short, what is so special about this film, please?
Well, actually, this film has no reference to any film anywhere in the world because what I have dealt with in this also does not have any reference to anything. In Maharashtra, in India, the richest industry is the sugarcane industry. We are the second largest exporter of sugar in the world, Brazil being the first.
Brazil.
Yeah, and there's always this great rat race to outdo Brazil, because Brazil is all the time hit by frost or hit by rain or bad weather, and their crop goes for a toss. So that gives us an advantage to, sort of outdo them. Sorry, outdo them. So what happens in Maharashtra is that the sugarcane cutting season is only for 6 months, from October to Jan Feb. And women sugarcane cutters are recruited from all over Maharashtra and even Belgaum and Karnataka to cut 2 tons of cane every day. That's the target. You have to cut 2 tons of cane every
God.
day. And those 6 months are the only parts of the year when you can actually, earn a living to sustain yourself for the remaining 6 months when you're sitting at home. So, women sugarcane cutters cannot afford to lose a single day of work because they're paid by the day. And if you lose 4 days a month for 6 months, that's 24 days because of your cycle, menstrual cycle, the periods that you are, affected by, and you cannot work, you actually end up losing an entire month's salary.
Oh
So,
my
what
God.
happened was somebody initiated the most frightening racket one could ever think of. And the news that was actually made to spread through gynecologists and the contractors on the sugarcane fields was telling women that if they underwent hysterectomy, that is the removal of the uterus, everything would be fine for them. There would be no pain from periods. You would be ridding yourself of, cancer, the uterus, cancer of the uterus. And in fact, life would be, an absolute ball, and you could gain a lot of money, and you could make a lot of money. And women actually started doing this. Bede, which is a district in Maharashtra, is actually called.
Isn't there an association like an anti-humanity,
I'm coming to that.
something?
I'm coming to that. This is what the film is trying to tackle. Yes, yes, absolutely. I can understand
Oh,
the awe and the absolute horror of this. So I was saying that these women, Bede is actually called the city of women without wombs. And this was the headline that attracted me to probe further. And when I came across this young girl's story, because that was the first time she went there, because she wanted to help the family, because the father was not keeping well and the mother needed help. And when she discovered to her horror as to what is happening over there, would she succumb or would she not succumb? Is the present more important or the future? Is there a future at all if you do not save the present? And when a government official from the Women's Rights Council is sent to probe into the kind of hysterectomies that are happening in this district, he comes up against a wall. He goes to the gynec, and the gynec shows him every hysterectomy that was performed with the permission of the women. He goes to meet the contractor, who says that this is the least of our bothers, because if we do not get these sugarcane loaded into the factories, we lose out on a lot of income, and that affects the Indian economy. And when you go to the sugarcane mill owners themselves, he turns around and says, show me one woman who has protested or who has said that we have forced this on them. And try as they might, all the human rights organizations, they're all coming up against a wall, because no one is ready to come up front and confess, except this girl who actually revealed her story. And that's what helped me to make this film. So it's blood sugar, bittersweet is India's blood sugar. It is India's killing fields. And it is horrifying. And the Busan International Film Festival, where the Screen International reviewed the film, and they were totally alarmed, and they said it's a hopeless situation, and the film really takes up cudgels for the women sugarcane cutters. So that's why I feel that this is the film that could, I mean, no film has really created any revolution so far, but it could create the kind of awareness that could be universal. It could bring in human rights people from all over the world, and it could change the fortunes of those poor women cutters in India. But this film needs to be seen for just the way the human mind and the human body is manipulated, the way our future, our biology, our biological future is manipulated and destroyed. It is unimaginable that on one side, when you are actually turning the economy into a spiraling success, you're actually destroying the lives and the future of people. That is the contradiction, and that's what made me make this film.
Oh my God, such inhumanity. Just listening to you, Ananth, honestly, no wonder you want this seen by as many people. And I really hope, these associations, on women welfare people, and they really take up this issue and tackle them. And I don't know how, whether it's going to get a mainstream release or not, or how we in UK will be able to view it. But I truly, truly hope
I
that
wish, I wish if there is a distributor. I mean, we did try to enter this as the Indian entry for the Oscars from India, but
yeah,
knowing the kind of the system that prevails here, this wasn't selected. I wish it was, because it would have stood a fair chance of being at least shortlisted in the final 20 or the final 15, and it would have come into the limelight. And though Busan did give me a lot of mileage, I wish distributors from all over the world would want to take a look and consider giving it what we call a limited theatrical release, or an art house release. Although it's not art house in that sense, it's very dramatic, it's very emotional, and it appeals to every or each one of your senses. So I would invite through this very, very wonderful platform, if you could spread the word, and if you could some
absolutely.
distributors could come in, and we would be very happy and pleased to share the film with them.
We will definitely, in fact, I'm sure even with between Kali and Sampad, we will have a meeting with a few and we will talk to you separately. It's really touched, and I can see from Pyali's expressions too, it has touched the core of our hearts, Anand, and we will do everything possible. And connecting you with people here in the UK, I assure you.
Incidentally, sorry to interrupt you. The London Indian Film Festival, which is I think in June,
Yes.
has selected the film for screening, and it is an official selection. So if you just check out their
So
program
we are
in
a part of it. Sampad is also a part of that festival, and it gets shown in Birmingham and
yeah,
London. So it's
yeah,
also in Birmingham. So you think
great.
for the 2021?
That's right,
Oh,
2021. And
fantastic.
Carrie Sawney, the founder of the Bagri London
Yes.
Indian Film Festival, did send me a mail yesterday and said that they would want to consider the film. And so I have replied to him and accepted the offer. So that would give you a chance to watch the film in London.
Thank you. There are so many questions, and I'm just looking at this time, and soon I will be opening the floor for the audiences. So please raise your hand icon, or put in the questions in the chat box, and Mansi will unmute you and bring you up on the screen. I can already see a few questions, but I haven't even come to my third or the fourth question, Anand. So I think just before we go on this, I just want to lighten up the whole thing. And I heard you sing when you did your interview with Nilima, and since then,
Oh, don't do
and
that.
I know she is also here with us, and I know she would also love to hear you sing. I mean, what kind of songs and music are you partial to? And then give us a little rendition, please.
Well, I'm no singer. I am a big music enthusiast. I love singing, and singing is a hobby. And I'm not trained as a singer or anything, but I think it's the magic. I consider music as the greatest genius. Much more than writing, directing, and making all these films and all that. Music is genius, and it really moves me. It's therapy, as we all know. And it makes a big difference to our lives when we listen to music, whether we are happy or whether we are sad, melancholic, or whatever. So that's the reason I go mostly for semi-classical music, Hindustani classical, Karnataka, and of course, if you look at the Western, this thing, of course, everyone loves the Beatles, and everyone loves country music. And although
Yes.
jazz and the other forms are terrific, but I would like, I
All
go in
my
for the
favorite.
softer version of music. Yeah.
So what are you going to sing for us today?
Oh my God! Now you've taken me by surprise, and you're
No,
going to.
no, no. Do teen line.
This is going to be embarrassing, but I'll try. ऐसी भी बातें होती हैं, ऐसी भी बातें होती हैं, कुछ दिल ने कहा, कुछ भी नहीं, कुछ दिल ने सुना, कुछ भी नहीं, ऐसी भी बातें होती हैं, ऐसी भी बातें होती हैं.
Wow. You've got us all swooning over it. Honestly, you've got to start on this genre as well. Oh, I can't believe, and
Bravo.
tide waits for no one. And so does this wretched clock on my computer. I have totally lost 1 second. I need to come back. I have lost the view. But meanwhile, while I'm struggling to come back to the Zoom, I don't know if you
You're
can.
very much here, very much there. We can all see you.
Hello, we can
Oh,
see you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can.
see you,
Yeah.
but
Okay, so I've literally lost that, and I'm trying to get back to my chat so that I can pick up the questions.
are you
Yes,
in Zoom?
yes, I have. Thank
yeah.
you. I am back.
Cool.
I hate this gizmo. So I'm going to take a question from Dr. Bakul, who, in fact, Ananth has just finished his trilogy. He's a writer too, and his question is, how do you entertain new authors pitching their scripts to you?
I have set a certain benchmark for myself now. And when I see concepts or see scripts, and even if they're good, I don't select them. Now they have to be totally outstanding for me because I am pushing my limits. I've come to that point. I've graduated from Dil Vil Pyar Vyar to Bittersweet. So when new authors come to me and they pitch scripts, if I find them challenging, difficult, and impossible to make, I go for those scripts. So that's what I'm looking for.
Wonderful. Hope, Bakul, that answers your question. Mansi, is it possible to bring up Promila Thomas on the screen to ask her question? It's Promila Thomas. Mansi, can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi,
Yes,
Titiksha.
Pramila. Yes, Pramila.
Thank you.
Good
First of
question.
all, thank you so much for bringing this to us. And this means a world to me, at least. And a big welcome to Anand sir. And he knows
you.
I'm going to be here.
Thank you,
So,
Pramila. Thank you so much.
hi, Anand sir.
Hello. Yeah.
So basically, my question is of a student, because I'm in the running of what you have mastered and gone beyond. So my question is about, would you be looking at running a mentorship program for writers to, sort of impart your knowledge and leave a, kind of your legacy to be carried on? Plus, if there is a scope for any master classes in Birmingham in future in collaboration with Sampad, I mean, I would be totally floored.
Well,
Honestly.
I don't know. I'm as much as of a student as you are, or you claim to be. But I could share my experiences. Mentor is, very, very responsible and a very big word. And considering that I'm still mentoring myself and trying to learn. But yes, why not? Because there is something very strong I want to state about the kind of cinema that should be made and the kind of scripts that should be written. And there are certain rules and regulations that now I have framed for myself, which I think would make, cinema very different and cinema of substance or scripts of substance. So yes, I would certainly welcome, addressing hopefuls or students or, co-students like me, wherever you wish. And it'll be interesting to share this because in India, when I talk to them and tell them this is the kind of cinema and this is the kind of scripts that are being written all over the world, they don't even let you think that way, forget even making a film. So if this can lead to, getting a few people to break the glass ceiling and write or make cinema that would make a difference, I'll be extremely happy.
So how can one actually get going on that path, though?
You will have to sort of set it up, schedule it for if it's a master class or if it's a series of classes over a week or 2 weeks or a month. I don't know, in whatever format you want that. If you set it up and if you know you have the requisite number of students who are partaking or people who are partaking or writers who are partaking, I would be then just let me know. You have my email ID, just let me know and we will connect and then we will work the entire syllabus out.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for that.
much. Dr. Krishna Srivastav would also like to ask a question, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, doctor.
Good
Doctor.
evening. Good evening, Mr. Mahadevan.
Good evening, good afternoon rather to you. Yeah.
Okay. After reading about you and now listening to you, I daren't dream of asking a question from you. I don't think I'm qualified enough. I mean, your achievement and accomplishment in literary and celluloid world, I don't think anybody in present Hollywood crowd can even show you a candle.
No.
You know,
Titiksha was saying about lightening the atmosphere. I'm going to say something very related to what you said here. There was a certain doctor, I won't name him, from the KEM hospital. I received this call from the hospital and he says, I'm Dr. So-and-so from KEM hospital. I said, yes. I mean, I was rather concerned as why is a doctor calling me up and I didn't even know him. He said, do you know what? I'm very keen on acting in films. And do you think you could put me somewhere? I said, doctor, for God's sake, you're a doctor, you're a heart surgeon. Why do you want to become an actor? He said, no, because I just want to become an actor. I said, all right, on one condition, I'll give you a part. He said, yes, any condition. I said, would you let me do an open heart surgery the next time or be with you the next time you do an open heart surgery? I want to cut at least one of those bones. Do you think you'll let me do that? He disconnected the phone. So the dream here, see, it's like we are on either side of the show. The dream here with me was to actually be part of the medical profession, be a scientist, be a researcher, and do something like that. And here am I whiling away my time trying to make cinema of substance. And there you are trying to make, all the difference to humanity. So, doctor, I respect you a lot. So don't even think of me as anything superior. You are the superior lot. You are the people I look up to. So what's the question?
That's totally different. What I'm saying that nobody I know can be as good as you are in what you're doing. And that is why I'm so much in agreement with Tatisha calling you a living legend. They don't
No, I think you do not know too many people. You must start knowing people, sir. Then you'll know.
No, I can tell you, I know they don't show candle to you. And coming
Thank
to good
you.
looks, I don't think there are many people in Bollywood at the moment who can match your looks either. So, it's a shame.
You are
It's a shame.
flattering me. I'm not going to fall for that.
He is the purest of the souls, purest of souls.
I
It's
would,
a shame.
yeah,
It's a
I
shame,
would.
Mahadevan, that I haven't got a hat because I would like to say hats off to you.
Thank you,
It's
Dr.
so
KK.
many-
I only have time for one last very quick question from Zarina Ukrale from Oxford Business College. Zarina,
Hello.
Hi, Zarina. Please put your
Hello,
question, Ananth.
hello, Zarina. Nice to see you. Are you
Nice
in
to-
college? Are you in college at the moment? You're walking down the corridor.
Nice.
Well, no, I'm not from college. I'm from Oxford.
Oh, you're from Oxford. Wonderful.
But you,
Uh,
well, you
Oxford
are
University Press is what we were brought up on. All our books were from Oxford University Press.
and
I
you
would like
also are a student. You were a student of Oxford Business College, and of course,
always.
now
Okay.
you work there.
So, first of all, thank you. It was very amazing and interesting session. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much for invitation to Tiksha. It was very appreciated. So, to be quick, as you said, there is not much time. My question is, you are an actor, you are a writer, you are a director. So, which part uh which part of those like not roles but of those
Mediums,
uh,
do you enjoy the most? Is it?
you
Okay.
enjoy the most?
I'll quickly answer that. It's let me tell you, the writer, the actor, and the director are all parts of the body whole. So if you see the head as the director, if you see the mind and the hand as a writer, and if you see the entire face and the body as the actor, it's all part of one. You can't really separate it. But when you get a part which you want to really sort of bite into, and then you want to perform a very memorable role, the actor in you takes over. When you get a kind of a script or a content that you really want to make and sort of show it to the world, then the director in you takes over. And when the director takes over, the writer comes as part of the dowry. So that's what it is. Sometimes I'm a director, excited like a kid about making a great film, and sometimes I like to say, once an actor, always an actor. So I'm always an actor.
Thank you
Fantastic.
so much. That's
Thank you,
fascinating.
Zarina. Thank you. And now may I invite Pyali Ray, OBE, who is a co-partner from Sampath organization, for any closing remarks and a vote of thanks, please.
Thank you very much. I hope my sound is okay
Yeah.
because sometimes it's distorted. Yeah, thank you so much, Ananth, for giving us an insider view of the industry. And I think we'll read your book with so much more curiosity and interest once upon a prime time. I think there'll be a lot of stories in there. I think we'll all be getting some copies of that book.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you an offer. Sorry to interrupt. I'm going to give all of you, all the 33, 37 wonderful people here an offer. I would, if you send me your names, I would personally like to sign them for you and make sure that the autographed copies reach you. I'll tell my publisher to do that. So if you could reach out to me and let me know who are the people who want the books, I would pass that on to the publisher. I'll sign them, give it to them, and he'll ship them to you.
Excellent. Excellent. What a generous soul.
I mean, obviously, what Tidikshu said, being a good soul, being generous is part of who you are. And that's what I was coming to, is really to see that there's so much to learn from you, in the sense your humility and your deep understanding of society and your commitment to that, to bring out, to tell the stories that are under the radar and sometimes go unnoticed, but they're important stories. And you're pretty uncompromising on that. I really respect, absolutely respect that. And hopefully when your film gets shown in London and Birmingham, because we're a partner in the film festival, we might have another conversation if we are still online. And if everything changes in the world, we'd love to have you in Birmingham in person. A warm welcome will be waiting for you.
I would love that. I'd really love that. Meet up with all of you. That would be wonderful.
No, absolutely, absolutely love the conversation. And there's so much more we need to talk about. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I will liaise with Promila to look at the masterclass options, because we do offer that to writers here in the UK. So again, that's something else. I think we'll be having more conversations, Ananth.
Yes.
Look forward to that. Thank
can't
you.
believe- Thank you so much again,
Thank you.
honestly.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Have a great weekend,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
great weekend. I hope the weather improves and the warmth returns, and we are all in good time. So thank you
We've
so
had
much.
so much warmth from you today. Honestly, I'm quite happy to go into and change into a t-shirt now. I feel that warmth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.